Welcome to our Saturday morning prediction podcast with RJ Bell at pregame.com. Before I get to my Blazing Five, the Thanksgiving countdown's about to kick into panic mode with all that stress swirling around. Surprise her with a beautiful bouquet from 1-800-Flowers.com. Vibrant bouquets starting at $29.99. Go to 1-800-Flowers.com, click the radio icon. Always enter the code HERD. Gonna be a mess this week. Give her a break. All right, here we go. First, we'll do our Blazing Five. Then RJ Bell stops in, and his wise guys break it down. Here's the Blazing Five.
Let's blaze it up.
Hope you can take the heat.
It's Colin's Blazing Five. Dolphins at Rams.
Dolphins stayed on the West Coast after beating San Diego -1 at the Rams. I can't believe this line. I'll take the Dolphins -1 to win going away. Jared Goff gets the start, taking on a Miami defense that forced Phillip Rivers into 4 picks last week and has an NFL best 8 picks over the last 4 games. Speaking of 4 games, Ryan Tannehill is a new quarterback. You've never seen Ryan Tannehill play like this, and he's getting help from the running game. In that 4-game winning streak for Miami, they're averaging 180 yards rushing. That's number 1 in the NFL since week 6. I get a defense that's playing well, an offense that's rolling against the sputtering Rams offense. 31-13, Miami wins going away.
Bills at Bengals.
Buffalo Bills get 3 points at Cincinnati. Like it, I love it. I don't understand the disdain for the Bills. Not liking Rex Ryan, I get, but Buffalo's a real football team. They rank 4th in the NFL in first quarter scoring, meaning they don't get behind on the road. They lead the league in 20-plus touchdown runs. They're 2nd in the NFL in rushing yards. You watch this team go to Seattle on Monday Night Football and outplay Seattle, a Seattle team that went to Foxborough and outplayed the Patriots. Buffalo right now is a better football team than Cincinnati, and the Bengals are on a short week after Monday Night Football. Take the points. Bills win 28-26.
Bears at Giants.
Bears +7 at the Giants. I'm going to take it. I don't trust Jay Cutler in Chicago, but I have a rule. If you get humiliated in the NFL, teams generally bounce back. And the Bears have played 4 games this year when they've won time of possession. They're just erratic. But I don't trust the Giants. 8 of the 9 Giants games have been decided by a touchdown or less. The Giants have a negative point differential, -2, despite their 6-3 record. They have a -8 turnover margin, worse in the league. You can't trust this team. Eli Manning still throws some of the worst picks in the league. The Giants historically are a bad favorite. Just when you fall in love with them, they break your heart. I'll take the Giants to win close, 24-22, but I'll take the points.
Packers at Redskins.
I really like Washington this year, but I'm going to take Green Bay +2.5 on the road. First of all, Washington wins, but they don't blow people away. And the reason they don't, they move the ball up and down the field, but they are last in the NFL in red zone touchdown efficiency, which means they get close and settle for field goals, meaning they outplay teams and don't blow them away when they should. And the Redskins have allowed 20-plus points in 8 of their 9 games. Only 3 teams, the Browns, Falcons, and Colts, have allowed that many games this season and that many points. Washington is a hard team to love, an easy team to like. But I'm going to call an upset. Green Bay, humiliated last week, bounces back, take the 2.5, beats Washington 27-26.
Ravens at Cowboys.
Cowboy fans already hate me, so I'm done sucking up. I'm going to take Baltimore +7.5 against Dallas. Now, I do think Dallas wins the game. But this is the number 1 rush offense, Dallas, against the number 1 rush defense, Baltimore. The Cowboys are 8-0-1 against the spread. It doesn't last. You don't beat Vegas forever. That's why they build those big casinos. They're not losing all year on Dallas. This is too many points against the great defense. The Cowboys coming off a wildly entertaining and energy-sapping win over Pittsburgh. Cowboys win ugly. Dak struggles a little. 24-20, Cowboys take the points.
RJ Bell, pregame.com, Twitter account at RJ in Vegas. We had a winning week last week, and we had a lot of agreement last week. We'll start with Bills, Bengals. I got to tell you something. I look at the stats for the Bills. I thought they should have beaten Seattle in Seattle. I think they're a better football team, and they're getting a field goal. I'll take the Bills +3. What do the wise guys think?
It's a close one, but a slight disagreement, Colin, in this one. Let's look at the Bills' 4 wins. They beat Arizona at home, and it was a 10 a.m. start for a West Coast team. Beat the Patriots against a third-string quarterback, already had a week of film on, which is even worse for a third-stringer. Beat the Rams, 3 defensive linemen out, cluster injuries on the D-line. Beat the 49ers, worst team in football. That's an easy one. Now, you might say, hey, they still won the games. I agree. They get credit for those wins, no doubt. But each of the wins was a little less impressive than it seemed. And they were 4 wins in a row, which made it seem more impressive because, oh, look, they're on a hot streak after changing coordinators and that narrative. So for me, I think the Bills are a little overrated right now. Now, let's talk about a bye because the Bills are off a bye, and you would think, okay, that's an advantage, right? I'm going to question that, and we'll talk about this, next year too, is with the new agreement with the union, with the way they give these players time off, we're starting to see that maybe this bye is a disadvantage or at worst net neutral because I think there's real uncertainty, and you saw the Patriots last week off a bye. A lot of these teams are not looking as good because of the different changes in practice schedule and all that stuff. Now, quickly, let's look at Cincinnati here because I think they're trending upwards.
You do. You like where they're trending.
Well, it's relative, Colin, right? I don't think they're a really great team or even maybe a really good team.
Hugh Jackson's loss to the Browns feels big.
Yes, but I think that's something that diminishes over time. So I think week 1, week 2, it was much bigger than week 11, let's say. I also think they lost their number 2 and 3 receiver. That was taking some time for them to replace. And now Eifert was out a big chunk of the year so far. Last week, nearly 100 yards. He's a key red zone presence for Cincinnati. Last thing about this game, Cincinnati's one of the top 6. We got them ranked as the 6th best home field advantage in the NFL.
Seattle, New England, who else?
Green Bay would be top 3.
Arizona.
Minnesota would be the 5. And then Cincy would be 6. Last 28 regular season home games for Cincinnati, they've only lost 8 against the spread. 28 games, only lost 8 against the spread. So this is a tight one, but Cincy is the sharper side.
All right, Ravens plus 7.5 at Dallas. Now, listen, Baltimore's number 1 in virtually every defensive category. Cowboys coming off a hugely emotional national TV win. I like the Cowboys to win, but 7.5 is too tasty for a good defense against even a good rookie quarterback. I'll take the Ravens. What do the wise guys think?
Biggest agreement of the week. Dallas has covered 8 straight. Now, listen, 8-0 up on the screen on your big TV show. That looks interesting, but it's so much more than that. It's cash. Imagine time after time you're better and you give your money to the bookie. He gives you double back. Well, let's forget the VIG for a second. Almost double back. And what are you going to do the next week? You're going to bet against them? Well, maybe once, but then they keep winning on Dallas. The public loves Dallas because they've been winning with Dallas. Over 5 times the public money on Dallas in this game compared to the Ravens. That means that Dallas is expensive. That's why we're getting this hook, for example. And we talk about it a lot. Dallas home field advantage. Last 11 home games, they've only won 3. 3 of 11 just straight up. Last 35 as a home favorite, they've only covered 10.
So their home field advantage is marginal.
Yes. Now, I think that it's possible because of the enthusiasm that could change, but we certainly don't have any data on it. And so I would say certainly yes. And we know for sure Dallas as an organization plays up or down to their competition. The underdog in Cowboy games. Doesn't matter if Dallas is the underdog or the opponent. Since 2010, 66-36 against the spread.
But here's what I like. The Ravens' defensive front can at least play with the Cowboys' offensive front. I think it's an ugly, low-scoring game. That's why I like the 7.5.
Great instincts, because I agree with you that it's a strong matchup. Ravens might be able to compete with perhaps the best offensive line in football. I agree with you there. I also think another thing that's very positive for Baltimore is they're rested. This is their first road game in nearly a month, and they played last Thursday. Check this out with Harbaugh. When the Ravens have more than normal rest, they've won 15 of their last 18 games.
Wow, that's a real number.
Yeah, and Harbaugh is a great coach, so it makes sense. We're getting over a touchdown here. you got agreement, biggest agreement on Baltimore.
All right, this game I liked a lot. Bears at the Giants -7. I don't trust the Giants as a home favorite. I think they're strangely pedestrian considering their record. I'll take the Bears in 7. What do the wise guys think?
Disagreement here.
Wow.
You're on the wrong side of this line move. Since you've made the pick, the betting has bet this baby up to 7.5 already. Look, the Bears, their two best players, you could make the case, lineman Long out with injury, wide receiver Jeffrey, he's been suspended now, both of them out. Second wide receiver White already out. I mean, there's a cluster injuries at playmaker for the Bears. Now, listen, we talked about it last week, Colin. Cutler, he's motivated because his contract, it looks like he won't be with the Bears, so he's playing for his next contract. But how's he going to respond to last week? I mean, they were destroyed, at least on the scoreboard, the Bears. I think there's a question mark for sure with Cutler. And here's the thing about the Giants. There's nothing that matters more in the NFL than turnover.
The Giants turn it over.
If you tell me who wins the turnover battle, I can tell you who covers the spread 77% of the time. No other number matters that much. Now, you said, oh, well, the Giants turn it over. Here's the thing, and you know this. Turnovers have a huge element of luck. Imagine a fumble bouncing around. Who recovers it? A tip pass. There's huge luck in turnovers. Thus, when a team has a negative margin and a decent record, you think, man, they're probably better than they seem, and we expect that margin to even itself out on the turnover side. Check this out. 13 teams have a net turnover margin this year so far -2 or worse. There's only 2 of them with a winning record.
Giants are 1.
Giants and Texans. Jennings back at running back. That's very important. He should help. Defense is improving, second year under the DC, and they're starting to put more stuff in schematically. Now, there is one, and you mentioned it. The home field is not great for the Giants. Last 17 seasons, they've only had 2 winning seasons against the spread at home. 2 out of 17. Even so, especially at the -7, that's the sharper side.
Dolphins at the Rams. Rams -1. The lines move back and forth. Regardless, I think it's my blowout of the week. Dolphins playing very good, especially running the football. I'll take the Dolphins, regardless what the line is. What do the wise guys say?
Well, not regardless. So let's just say between -1 and +1. I'll agree with you there. You've got agreement on this one with the Dolphins.
All right, so I'm 2-2 with the wise guys.
And this is fascinating because if you, it's really this line move's been driven by Jared Goff in that announcement, and I just love when Vegas gives their grade, right? We're giving the wise guy grades, but when there's a change, an injury, Vegas, the market makes a case, and in this case, before the announcement. So when Case Keenum was supposed to be the quarterback, the Rams at home were favored by 1.
So now it's -1, so Vegas is like, all right, Jared Goff is a 2-point swing.
Yeah, it's a 2-point downgrade for Goff. And listen, this is a great tip. Vegas knows a ton. But we don't know more than the coaches about their own teams. So oftentimes, and I've heard you talk about this, Colin, when a coach is making a decision that doesn't make a ton of sense from the outside, there's probably something we don't know. And here's what I know. Keenum looked as bad as any quarterback in the NFL, and the coach said, give me some more of that next week. We got the #1 pick in the draft here, but give me some more Case Keenum. What does that tell you about how he was looking in practice? Goff was looking in practice. So to me, I think this is a desperation move, a PR move.
I
now.
agree.
So that's another reason.
And the Dolphins not only look good, they stayed on the West Coast.
Yeah, and I think that's an important point, is it's for team building, especially with a first-year coach. When you go out west and stay the week, teams usually do well in response to that. It is team building. There is one concern, though, and it happened later in the week. Miami had 4 straight games with their offensive line intact. They won all 4 of them. But now that O-line's no longer healthy. Their left tackle got hurt, and the center is questionable, Pouncey. So against that D-line of the Rams, that could be a problem. But you add it up, Dolphins agreement.
Before we get to our last pick, the Thanksgiving Day countdown about to kick into panic mode. If your family is anything like mine, we've got a million things going on Thanksgiving week. Chaos, stress everywhere. Why don't you give your girlfriend or your wife or your mom a break? Buy a beautiful bouquet from 1-800-Flowers.com. A massive selection of vibrant roses, lilies, daisies, and more. Delivering a 1-800-Flowers bouquet is a perfect way to relieve the holiday stress. They work with premier farms around the world to ensure you get the best flowers available at the best price. 100% smile guarantee, 1-800-Flowers. Now, to get these beautiful and vibrant bouquets that start at just $29.99, go to 1-800-Flowers.com, desktop, mobile device, either device, click on the radio icon, always enter the code HERD. This week is going to be a stress nightmare, right? Help your mom, your girlfriend, your wife. Give her a break. 1-800-Flowers.com. Enter HERD. Finally, Packers at the Redskins -2.5. I've been on Washington all year. But I'll say this. Washington gets a lot of yards, not efficient in the red zone. They settle for a lot of field goals, and their games are close. The desperate Packers, I'll take them to upset the Redskins. What do the wise guys think?
So for the first time in quite a while, biggest disagreement of the week.
Wow.
Now you have a 3-2 disagreement this week. Behind the counter, we love that insight. Matt Holt, CG Technology, he gives us the actual numbers. More professional money bet on Washington this week than any other team. And here's a big surprise for a lot of listeners. Vegas considers Washington to be the better team right now than Green Bay. That's if you look at the stats, it's true. If you look at the Vegas power rankings,
Well,
it's
Washington's
true.
offense has playmakers.
Yeah, I agree with you. And they're not big names yet, but man, Washington's playmakers impressive, and that's exactly what Green Bay lacks. They're especially struggling running the ball. And if you look at Aaron Rodgers, and I quote this all the time from your show, Colin, is the California cool stuff. The idea that even when they were winning, even when they were competing for Super Bowls every year, the Packers, there was still some sniping about Rodgers. Now we've got tough times. How's he going to lead? Well, here's what we know. A couple weeks ago, they lost to the Colts. What happened after? Aaron Rodgers called out his teammates. How did they respond? They got blown out by Tennessee. So what's he supposed to say? No, I'm really serious this time, guys. Let's try. I just think back against the wall, we haven't seen Rodgers in that situation. And I think it's a big question mark. And even when the Pack were rolling year after year, they were not a very good road team. Last 5 seasons, they're below 500 straight up on the road. Well, what about Green Bay as an underdog? You might think, oh, Rodgers can throw from behind. He's really, backdoor covers and all that. Last 15 times, Packers an underdog. They've won the game only twice. They've covered the game only 5 out of the 15. Here's the rationale. They're very vanilla schematically. The film guys tell me the Packers have exceeded or have won a lot because they've had so much talent over the years. Now they don't have that talent. Some of the coaching issues might be showing themselves. Last thing, Washington, they got revenge off of last year's playoff loss. Green Bay beat him right here. Wise guys really, really, really like the Redskins.
RJ Bell, pregame.com, at RJ in Vegas. Finally, you guys, your poll, pregame.com college football poll, despite what the committee thinks, you have LSU third. Explain.
Wow. Well, first off, let me ask you, do you agree with that?
I think USC and LSU, I think USC has better quarterback play, but I think USC and LSU are both in my top 5. I think USC's got a better quarterback, so I'd probably take them over LSU.
And you talk about it all the time, wins and losses, especially a game like Alabama, you have to upgrade LSU after that game. Watching that game,
absolutely.
So even though they lost the game, here's the way I'll quantify it. We do have LSU third, but check this out. Penn State's the most overrated team. Penn State versus USC, USC would be a 4-point favorite.
Wow.
And remember, USC's 13 versus 8. Number 16 LSU would be a 6-point favorite over number 8 Penn State.
Wow. Well, that's why I trust Vegas. Pregame.com, RJ Bell, at RJ in Vegas. Have a good weekend, buddy.
Thank you.